of weeks ago, I was going to talk in front of 400 to 500 people at the Biltmore Hotel. And then about 3 days ago, we got a call from the Biltmore begging us not to be there. Begging us. And that doesn't happen too often. And they said, we are going to be overrun with people in support, total support. They said thousands of people are calling, and they all want, and we can't handle it. It's a big hotel, a very big ballroom, and we can't handle it. So we started scrambling, and I thought probably I'd have to go outside, and if it's a windy day, my hair will be blowing up, but it is my hair. That's a good, it is my hair. You can always tell a dishonest reporter when they say, you know, the other day I had actually a great story, but they said, but he wears the worst hair piece I've ever seen. I said, I can't even get a story, but that was true. I thought my hair would be all over the place. And it's an amazing thing that's happening. It's an amazing thing that's happening. Great company, it's just things are sort of easy. And other people said, oh, he'll never want to show his financials, or he'll never want to do this or that. He'll never run. So then I announced I'm running. Then I wasn't going to file my FEC original filing, because when you do that, you're making a very big step. And I filed it. And then they had, oh, but he'll never put in his financials, because maybe he's not as rich as people think. Not that it matters, but I'm much richer, and you'll see that next week. No, you'll see. I mean, you know, it's like crazy. So, it is true. You've heard that, right? He'll never file. These guys, they sit up there. Why, he'll never file because he doesn't want to show that he's not as rich. And I sort of said to myself, gee, I want to file because I want to show that I'm much, much richer than what they say. I'm a private person. Nobody knows. And the reason I bring that up, and it's important because it's the kind of thinking. I built a great company. Low debt, great cash flow. You're going to see it all next week. But a great company. And it's the kind of thinking that we need in this country. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it from, oh, gee, I made money. I'm doing it because it's the kind of mindset that we need in the United States. Our trade deals are incompetent, done by incompetent people. We have incompetent leadership. And whether you're on the libertarian side, and by the way, some incredible points they make, or the very conservative side, or the Tea Party people who I think have been totally disparaged for years, and nobody knows the power of the Tea Party. Nobody knows that. I only say that because the Tea Party loves me, you know, but it's true. The Tea Party has such power, and they get trivialized. They're always trivialized, and nobody knows the power. That's what's happening a little bit with me, because people hear what I'm saying, and they believe it. Strong military, take care of our vets. Our vets are treated like third-class citizens. What you hear, I mean, I've met with a lot of veterans groups where they'll go to a hospital. By the way, in some cases, they'll build a new hospital for $1.5 billion. You could build 7 hospitals, 10 hospitals for that if you knew what you were doing. And they'll get there, and they'll wait in a reception area for 4 or 5 days before they even get to see a doctor. They wait for 4 or 5 days. We have to take care of our military. We have to take care of our vets. We have to end Obamacare and come up with something that's much better. We can repeal it. We can come up. I have ideas on that. So much better. Not only that, less expensive for the country and much better for the people, because Obamacare is a disaster. You know, it doesn't kick in until 16, really kick in. The cost is astronomical. Doctors are going to be leaving like all over the place. They're already leaving the profession. I have a friend who's a doctor. He said, Donald, I'm going to be retiring. So the guy's like 50. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. He said, I have more accountants working for me than I have nurses. It's a real problem. But when you look at what's going on with the country, and I say it all the time, we don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories. We used to be great. And my whole theme is make America great again. It's what it is. We have to. But you can't be great if you don't have a border. You can't, no matter what you do. And you can't be great if China's taking all our jobs. You know, we've rebuilt China. China's made so much money. We have such power over China, but we have leaders that don't know what they're doing. I mean, we have trade deals with China, with Mexico, with Japan. In Japan, boats come, the biggest boats I've ever seen. I just left Los Angeles. The biggest boats I've ever seen. Thousands of cars, millions of cars coming in. We get nothing. We get cars. We want to send rice. We want to send corn. They have protesters. We don't send. The imbalance of these things. I mean, they send a car and we send corn. Believe me. It's a lot of corn to make up for a car. And they won't even take our product. And then we think that we're not dealing from strength. We have all the strength. With China, a friend of mine who's a manufacturer says it's impossible to deal with them. He's a great manufacturer, smart, tough, makes an incredible product. He said, I can't get the product in. And when I do, they charge me a surtax. I said, what is it? How much? 42%. I said, you got to be kidding. This is a great story. He goes, oh, don't get me involved. I don't want to be involved. They don't want to be involved. But they charge him a surtax. We don't charge surtax. They manipulate the hell out of their currency. And by the way, I love China. I sell apartments for 10, 15, 25 million from people from China. The largest bank in the world is from China. They're my tenant in one of my buildings. They're my tenant. I mean, I love China. True. How can you not love China when they pay me? I own a big chunk of the Bank of America in Bank of America building. Nobody knows it. Nobody knows what I own. You know, Forbes, they write stories. They have no idea. They have no idea. I love China. I love Mexico. I tell everybody. And I love the Mexican people. And I've said it 100 times. Nobody ever says it. Nobody ever reports it. That's a problem. I love the Mexican people. I love the spirit of the Mexican people. I respect Mexico. The problem is their leaders are much smarter than our leaders. Their negotiators are much tougher than our negotiators. They're much more cunning. And they kill us at the border. People flow through like water. And they send people through that they don't want. You remember the old days with Castro when he emptied his jails and sent them all to the United States? Well, Mexico does similar things in a highly sophisticated and much more sophisticated manner. And we have people in the country. You look at Kate. You look at, I have a man who's a friend of mine, Jamil Shaw. He's with me. He came today. In fact, Jamil, where are you, Jamil? Is he around here someplace? One of the finest people. Where is Jamil? Will you come up here for a second? Jamil Shaw, do you know who it is? He was on one of the big shows on Fox and CNN the other day. I never met Jamil. And he was talking about Trump. And I said, oh, no, not more. How much can you take? And he was talking to me. And then I turned on the sound and he said, there's nobody that's helped us. We've been forgotten. The parents of children that have been killed by illegal immigrants. His son was killed by an illegal immigrant. And I said, what he is doing now is so important in honor of his son. Just say hello and just give just a brief description, Jamil, because it's so, so important. He was with me last night along with other parents of other children that were likewise killed. Please.
Real quick, I don't want to dominate Mr. Trump. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to, like Mr. Trump was saying, my son was murdered by someone illegally in the country. They were brought here when they were 4 years old, and then they were allowed to grow up like a wild animal, pretty much. My son was walking home from the mall one day, like everybody's kids do, go to the mall, on Sunday afternoon. We went to a football clinic in Pasadena on the way home. He asked, could he go? I said, yeah, I let him go. I told him, be home by 7. Around 7 o'clock I called him. He said, I said, where are you? He said, be home soon, Dad. We caught the wrong bus, be there in about another hour. I said, I'll give you a call. I called him again an hour later. Where you at? That's what I always say, where you at? He said, I'm right around the corner, old man. I'll be there in a couple minutes. And then I heard 2 gunshots. It was so crispy. It's like being in the gun range. If you've been in the gun range, you know that crispiness tells you how close, it is. And I already knew. I had a feeling in my chest. And I went outside to see, and it was laying in the street dead, and found out that the guy who did it was released from the county jail, just like in San Francisco, on his 3rd gun charge. Now, you have somebody illegally in the country with 3 gun charges already. He's in jail now for battery on a peace officer, resisting assault with a deadly weapon. And they gave him 8 months in the county jail, then let him out 4 months early. The same day he got out, he had the Mexican mafia orders the Latino gang members to go out the same day and commit crimes so you won't be rehabilitated. So it's like an order. You have to go out the same day and commit crimes in the black neighborhood. So that was, my son walking home from the mall. They were coming into my neighborhood to visit a neighbor. Saw my son and ran right over there and killed him just because he was there, and, he had a guy in the back seat with him that was there just as a reporter to prove that he got out the car, shot him in the head with a big gun. He had a .45. You can imagine a .45 into a 17-year-old kid's head. Don't even have a chance. He was shot in the stomach. According to the coroner, while he was laying on his back, he had his hands up, and they thought he was shot 3 times because his hand was just really damaged. He had a bullet wound in his stomach and in his head. And they found out, according to the coroner, that he was on his back like this, and he shot him through his hands into his head. Now that's the original hands up, don't shoot. We hear the other stuff, you know what I mean? But that really happened. That really happened. And that day, like Mr. Trump was saying, when I saw the TV, man, and everybody was calling my house, did you hear what Donald Trump just said? I was like, yeah, I heard it, And everybody was so happy. And, my sister was saying for the first time, she saw a smile because I felt hope, I knew that was change coming. Either way it go. People have to change if they want to compete with him, You have to change. You can't keep the same path, And Mr. Trump is willing to go out there and sacrifice his life, because like you said, he doesn't need money, he doesn't need power, he's powerful already, he has a name, he has what he needs, but he loves America, and I saw that, I could tell that he loves America. Why else would he be doing this, He loves America, he wants to make it good again, and I tell people all the time, I trust Donald Trump, because if he can put himself out there like that for, I just say for black people, because a lot of the Latino and black crime is happening in the black community. It was sort of transformed. It used to be all black, now it's all Latino, so we're pretty much, in a different land, so to speak. And if he can put himself out for us, then I can trust him and everything else. It's like your dad. Your dad tell you, don't do this, don't do that. And you trust him that he knows what's good for you, And I see him almost like a dad. Like I said last night, we're almost the same age, so I can't really call him my dad, But he's the kind of man that you would want to be your dad, successful. He's a loving guy. I mean, come on, you see him on TV, you're fired, but you see him in real life, He's a nice guy, and I just learned that myself. I tell everybody, and in my community, I have a lot of black friends, and of course, a lot of them are liberals, but they're ready to vote for Trump now. And they're saying, I haven't voted in 10 years, He said, I haven't voted in 10 years. I haven't voted, but I'm going to vote for Trump. And people feel energized, and we feel happy that someone is willing to go out there and put himself out there for America, and you can trust him too.
Thank you, Jimmy. Wow. His son was a great quarterback, and he was applying to colleges. One of them was Stanford. And, the whole thing is just so sad to see it. And his sister is here, too, and his mother. And his sister told me a story yesterday that when Jamil saw what happened to his son, he went to the ground and was pounding on the cement sidewalk with his hand and virtually broke his hand. He couldn't believe what happened. So I just want to thank you, Jamil, for being here. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So, one of the things that came out of the press conference last night from one of the other folks is that their child was murdered by an illegal immigrant. And they said the police were very, very strong and very, very good. Everything was great. And this, I don't know how anybody can understand it, because it's the first I have ever heard of it, but everybody agreed, including Jamil. Once they found out that it was an illegal immigrant that killed their child, it became politically incorrect to even talk about it. They took it totally easy on the person, and the parents just got nowhere. That was 3 years ago. They just get nowhere. Whereas when they thought it was somebody that was legally in the country, everybody was fighting like hell to give due justice. And I went around the table and I said, is this true? And they said, it's true in every case. So there's something really bad out there, something really sick out there. And we have to do a job. We have to get the word out. I love people to come into the country legally. They have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. There's nothing wrong. I mean, what's wrong with it? You know, I've been branded all sorts of things. What I said is Mexico is sending. Well, Mexico is sending. They're sending people that they... And you know what they figured? Why should we keep these people in jail? Why should we? Why should we keep these people in jail when the American people are led by such stupid leaders that they'll put them in jail, or worse, they won't put them anywhere? Like what happened with Jamil, what happened with Kate, the magnificent young woman from San Francisco. He came back in here 5 times. He should have been in a Mexican jail. He should have never been in the country. Should have been in jail. But he should have been in a jail from Mexico. But Mexico figures, why should we take care of him for the next 40 years? Let's let the dumb people in the United States, with their really dumb leaders, take care of all our problems. And I saw protests, a couple of very tiny protests. I heard, oh, there's going to be a protest. You go there, and there's like a few people. There were more people in favor of Trump. People are holding up 2016 signs, and I'm saying, like, they like me. It's all nonsense. And the people that were protesting, they were so sophisticated, I guarantee you that the country of Mexico had those people doing it. Because I talk about trade. And I talk about the bad trade deals we're making, and I believe that bothers Mexico far more. You know, Univision canceled. Univision, they were my best friends. They were playing golf all the time at Trump National Doral in Miami, my club. All of a sudden, boom, I was a bad person. Because Mexico put the clamps on Univision. Univision's doing an IPO. They're doing very badly as a company. They make very little money, if any, in fact, lost money. They're highly over-levered. And Mexico has a lot of power over them, so they're putting out things. And friends of mine that are Hispanic say terrible things about you at Univision. Now, NBC, let me talk about NBC, and then we're going to take some questions, by the way. Because they said, we'd love to take some questions, but this is more interesting, isn't it? Let me tell you about NBC. NBC said, oh, we want to talk about inclusion. Inclusion. They got Reverend Al Sharpton. They got Lion Brian Williams. They got all these people. I won't even mention Bill Cosby because that was from a long time ago. But they got a lot of bad people. And they're not angry at me for that. They're angry because, as you know, they renewed, The Apprentice is a very successful show, one of their most successful shows, even though it's 12 years, 14 seasons. They renewed The Apprentice. They wanted me to do The Apprentice. I said, you know, I'm going to really run for president. They didn't believe me. They renewed it at the upfronts. Everybody saw that. And if you do that, you cannot, as you know, run for office because of the very stupid laws having to do with time. If they did that, equal time, you'd have to put everybody on. I mean, all due respect, you'd have to have Rick Santorum, you'd have to have Carly Fiorina, you'd have to have lots of different people on, everybody. Every candidate would get 2 hours primetime NBC. I don't think so, right? So they're not angry at me for this. They're angry because I didn't do The Apprentice. And it's a huge show for them. And frankly, the head people of NBC, and more importantly, the bosses of the people at NBC. You know what that means. I'm not going to mention names because I think they're great people. They're friends of mine, sort of. But they're friends of mine. I thought they were friends of mine until a couple of weeks ago. But the people from Comcast came to my office to ask me, please do it, do it, do it. I said, I want to make our country great again. I can do it. I'll make great trade deals. I'll be great on the military. I want to make our country. And they thought, like, they didn't care. They wanted me to do it. Then I announced, and they said, all right, well, have fun. And as soon as you finish, come back and do The Apprentice. Another reason nobody thought I was going to run, because, you know, you're going to see on Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to see how much money The Apprentice made. A lot of money. I give up a lot. When I run, I give up a lot. When these politicians run, all they do is run for office. That's all they do. They talk, talk, talk. Nothing ever happens. They talk about Benghazi. Huge indignation. Benghazi, Benghazi. 2 days later, you never hear them again. They talk about IRS. They talk about Hillary's emails. She broke the law. She got a subpoena from the United States Congress, and then she didn't give the email. She destroyed them. Do you remember Rosemary Woods from Richard Nixon? 18 minutes of tape. Ruined her life. Hillary gets an email from the United States Congress, gets through an email, a subpoena. I mean, everybody's saying they sent the subpoena. Now, they're politicians, so maybe they didn't. But they all said they sent a subpoena. She gets the subpoena, and then she deletes. Tell me, how do you do this? She gets rid of her server, she gets rid of she broke the law. So the Republicans, and you know what? At least we know where the Democrats are coming from. But for the Republicans, I'm more disappointed in them. Because it's huge. I'm a Republican conservative. It's true. And you see it. 48 hours of indignation. Oh, what she did. You don't even hear about it anymore. You don't even hear about it. Let me tell you something. If I get this nomination, you're going to hear a lot about it. You're going to hear about it so much. You're going to hear about it like you wouldn't believe. Now, just in closing, before we take some questions, it's hard for a conservative Republican, libertarian, it's hard for certain groups of people to get fair press. I have great respect. You know, I've always gotten, you know, pretty much, but I've always found the financial press to be quite honorable. But this political press is brutal. You know, I tell the story about how I have great relationships with Mexico, how I love the Mexican people, but the Mexican government is smarter than our government. Nobody puts that. And they put half sentences. Like, I talk about the American dream. You know, I say this a lot. The American dream is dead, but I'm going to make it bigger and better and stronger than ever before. I say it all the time. The American dream is dead, but I'm going to make it bigger and better and stronger than... So my wife said, oh, darling, you said horrible things in your speech last night. I said, what? You talked about the American dream. And here's the way they put it. On many different networks. The American dream is dead. Cut. I said, whoa, that's brutal. They left the second part off. Just like they left when Mexico sends. I said, I'm talking about the government of Mexico. They're smart. They're sending us their problems. And we're taking those problems. And we're going to pay for those problems. And Jamil, his son, would be alive today if we knew what we were doing. And Kate would be alive because these people should never have been in our country. So the press, the political press, the media, is very, very dishonest. I mean, unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But we have to live with them, and the only advantage I have millions of people on Twitter and Facebook. I love, you know, it's like owning the New York Times without the losses. It's incredible. Tweet, tweet, tweet. So when somebody hits me, I hit them back. And, you know, I have millions of people. Millions. And it's like great. So at least I have a megaphone that I can fight back, but it's hard because they come at you from, like even last night, it couldn't have been more beautiful because we're representing these young people who died. And some people, not all, but 20% just totally and purposely misconstrued everything that was said in that room last night. There were some stories that you would actually say they were there, but you would actually say they weren't there. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very smart. I will win, if I get the nomination, I will win the Hispanic vote because I'm taking jobs back from China. I'm taking jobs back from many places. You know, last quarter, we had a GNP, gross national product, which was negative. You don't see that. You look at these countries, India, all of these countries, they're going through the roof. You call up about your American Express card. Somebody's on the phone with a little bit of an accent. Where are you from? Oh, this is New Delhi. Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, New Delhi. Why can't it be from Arizona, from New York, from Las Vegas, Nevada? Why can't it be from why can't it be in this country? You would think it's impossible. How can it be that far away and they save money? How can it be, right? They're from India. So I'm going to take back our jobs, and I'm going to create so many jobs in this country. And I actually thought that was going to be my strength, and I still think it's going to be my strength. And then I started talking about, because to make the country great and strong, we have to stop the border. We have to stop illegals from coming in. So that's part of what the whole picture is. So I mentioned it, and then after I mentioned it, it got... By the way, you know, after I did the speech, 6 days went by, nobody said anything. You know that, right? In fact, I got rave reviews on my speech. They said, what a great speech. I got so many great reviews. They said he stood up there for an hour and didn't even use a note. I happen to have a great memory. You know, it's good. Helps. But I got great reviews. And then 5 days later, all of a sudden, I said a thing that was so big because they took half sentences and they changed it. They probably worked hard during those 5 days trying to figure that out. So we have to be very, very careful. I always start by saying I went to the Wharton School of Finance, one of the hardest schools to get, even then, one of the hardest schools to get, the greatest business school in the world. I went to Wharton. I did great. I came out, I made a fortune. I wrote The Art of the Deal, #1 selling business book of all time, I think. I always say I think, because they'll find out one book sold 3 copies more. Oh, Trump told a horrible thing. I think the largest of all time. Most of you have read. Has everybody read The Art of the Deal? Most of you. Trump, The Art of the Deal. You know who hasn't read it? Obama. He hasn't read it. I mean, here's a guy, Sergeant Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, a traitor, a no-good traitor, who in the good old days would have been executed. We get Bergdahl. They get 5 killers that are right now back on the battlefield. The 5 people that they most wanted. They got them, and we got Bergdahl. That's like the way we deal. Look at the Iran deal. I mean, this is a deal that never ends. Somebody said, how long should that deal have taken? I said, 1 day. They said, what do you mean? I said, make it a week. We got a chief negotiator, goes into a bicycle race. He's 73 years old. He's in a bicycle race. He falls, he breaks his leg. He's negotiating against the Persians. They're great negotiators. The Persians are great negotiators. Iran, great negotiators. I saw the other day on Charlie Rochar's watching their chief negotiator. I tweeted, he's too smart for our team. Don't make the deal. It's true. I watched him. He's smart as hell. Too smart for our deal. No good. And just in finishing on that subject, we have 4 people that are prisoners over there. We don't even ask about it. If I was in charge, I would say the following. Fellas, and by the way, it is all fellas, I hate to say this, they haven't figured out that the women are smarter yet, so yeah, it's going to take them about another 150 years. I'd say, fellas, you got, in those days when this thing started, about 200 years ago, this negotiation on nuclear, and by the way, it's called tap, tap, tap. They're tapping us. I do it all the time with deals. I don't know if I want to make it. We have one of the greatest deal makers from Las Vegas, Phil Ruffin. Where's Phil Ruffin? Where the hell is he? He bought, do you remember? Where is Phil? He's in the back. He wants to keep a low profile. Bought a hotel down the road, Bought it for 100 million, sold it for $1.3 billion. It's a good deal maker. I'd put him in charge of China.